Hello and welcome to the StrongCast, where it is our goal to help you perform without limitations. We chat with athletes, experts, and innovators to get their insights in optimizing the movement experience. I'm your host, Dr. Neil Toussaint. In episode 11 of the StrongCast, we got to sit down with Will Coneys. He is a legend in the tricking community, and he's been doing it for quite a while right now. So we got into talking about a little bit more of a spiritual, mental, emotional side of training, which I thought was really cool, really nice change of pace. We were able to talk about, what techniques he uses, like mindset techniques, things that he really uses to up his game when he's not able to train as hard as he would like to. And we often find ourselves in that situation, where, there's COVID, there's an injury, there's a lot of work. How can we still maintain our internal environment so that we can maximize what we can do on the floor or in our training? I thought this was a really good talk for that. We got into a lot of other really cool concepts here, and we talked about how he continues to condition, strength, train, and do some mobility to keep his body in check. And yeah, I'm just excited for you guys to listen in on it and to learn how he listens to his body and how you can too. All right, let's get into it. Hello everybody, welcome to StrongCast 11 with Will Coneys. What's up, Will? How's it going?
I'm doing really good. I'm doing pretty good right now. I'm happy to be here, happy to, talk and get down to some questions and some knowledge. I'm happy.
Nice, bro. Nice. Where are you at right now?
I am currently in Montagnana, Italy, down in the north. I am here on vacation with my girlfriend. It's absolutely beautiful. It's such a gorgeous place. Like, I've been here 5 times at this point, so
That's awesome.
I know it fairly well, but it still never ceases to amaze me, and I absolutely enjoy being here.
Nice. Hell yeah. So can you introduce yourself for those who, maybe the 2 or 3 people that don't know who you are in the tricking community?
Uh, well, so what's going on, everybody? My name is Will Coneys, or more affectionately known as Kid Wolf Coney. I would howl, but it's still pretty quiet here, so we'll have to do that at another time. But I am a martial arts tricker as well as a professional tricker, and I've been doing this for, I want to say, at least 15 plus years at this point. I've been in the community for so long, from the tail end era of the sport karate tournament side floor tricking era to, what it is right now. So it's been a beautiful ride and it's been a beautiful journey.
Well, you were kind of part of that too, no? Like, did you
I,
compete and all
I feel
that?
like I did. I actually competed. That was around the first time that I started competing in NASCAR. It was probably like 2007, 2008. Um, I think my first big tournament was Charlie Lee Nationals, and that was where I met like Luke Brodlick. I met Jimmy Marinas, Mo Alfrangi, Anise, Austin Crane. All the old school names. That we that pioneered the sport. And where it came from, and it kind of was just like that era of like, man, they're doing this on hard floor. Like this does not make sense. And then ever since then, it's just been just on go every time, every chance that I could get, every tournament. You know, from like Charlie Lee to Pang to, I want to say I actually never did Pan Am, but I did do U.S. Open a few times. Um, we did Amerikick, uh, New England Open, all of those NASCAR circuit tournaments. And dude, it was a wild time.
That sounds awesome. I always was watching those videos because that's around when I started too. I started in like 2005, and so that was huge back then where all these tournaments and everything, I didn't have that background. So I remember watching all these, huge trickers, huge names and stuff. I'm like, man, I should just go to one of these things like as if it was a gathering and just like, because it always seems so fun.
Hey, I mean, It honestly was, and like the funny thing is that I wholeheartedly know that the reason why there was always so many people there was not to really care. Like, it's not that you don't care about the competition aspect, but the fact that you had so many people on the side rings that were empty. Like, a side ring that was empty probably had like 50 people just tricking
Yeah.
versus like the actual competition, like on stage. And then, even after competition on stage, like you were in the side ring tricking. Like it was just that like love of just like pushing the boundaries. Like I think our side ring tricking got more crowds than the actual tournaments did. And that was like the wildest thing because like especially when you're young and like you're seeing these people that are doing these amazing things and you join in, it's nothing short of like amazing. And then you see crowds of people seeing what you can do and what you add to it, and them cheering you on. Like it was, it was just a crazy time. Like, and especially just doing it with my team. Like that was incredible.
Is that CFC?
That CSC life, man. That
Creative
CSC life.
Forms Crew. I remember
Yo,
that.
creative run through, man. It was so great. Me, Gabby, Renee, Javier, Scarlett, Carla, our boy Josh Bunch, Master Emerson, Carla and Scarlett's little brother Franco, like, and then Cree was there too. Like, it was just that was the team, bro. Like that was the freaking team, and we went to just about every competition together. It was that was the fam. And to be honest, like I said, like I probably wouldn't be doing half of what I'm doing now if it wasn't for that. The
Right.
CSC really did kind of help me to find the tricking community and then just become so much more part of it and to lead to where I am now.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of questions I have about that, obviously, but first, what was your background that got you into it? Was it just martial arts? It seems like you have a tumbling background. I mean, what's going on?
Um, so officially, I had a bit of a small dance background, but that's because my mom danced in church,
Hmm.
so I learned how to dance through that. But as for everything else, I actually had no official background until I started doing martial arts when I was like 15, 16.
Was that after
I
you
learned
started
how to
tricking,
tumble.
or?
Oh no, that was when I started tricking.
Okay,
Like
gotcha.
so. Okay, well let me paraphrase it. So I was a backyard tricker. I was doing things and didn't know what the excuse my language what the hell they were. And I learned how to tumble by watching like cheer competitions, gymnastics, Power Rangers, Sonic the Hedgehog, a lot of these things on TV at the age of like 5 and 6. And I just decided to go outside in my grandmother's front yard, flip off the tree, bust my ass, and then it just came naturally after that. Like I just wanted to do it, so I practiced it every single day. And I honestly did not have any actual tumbling training until I want to say till maybe I turned like 18 or so. I want to say around that time. So it was just everything was self-taught. And then when I met Javier and Gabby and Renee and them, they showed me what tricking was. They taught me that the movements had names. They had like specific ways of going about them. And then that's when I kind of started picking up into it. And then when I started martial arts is when I started to actually learn how to trick. So
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I had a similar, I mean, not even close as far as the community and stuff, but I had a similar just upbringing. I started tricking, and then like 6 or 7 months after, I was like, Taekwondo would probably be useful for this. So then I did that for a little bit. But yeah, I started from scratch as well. So that's really cool, man. I
it,
love the Sonic the Hedgehog because you do
dude,
tucked pretty
it
tight.
was
So
just hey, listen. Sonic the Hedgehog he is OG. Like we not gonna forget about him. Like he was the reason why I decided to run off the wall and backflip. So he deserves. He has to get the credit for that one.
yeah, yeah, man. So like, what I've seen most, and I think a lot of people would agree, the thing that sticks out to me a lot, probably the most, is just like how passionate you are for movement, for tricking and everything. Like whenever you're on the floor, whenever you're battling, whenever you're at a gathering, you just like seem like you're loving it. And I just want to know like what helped fuel that. I'm guessing the community helped build that fire, but what how did you become so passionate about it, and how do you continue to keep that?
So I know, so I'll say this, and I'm pretty sure I've told this story so many different times, but it actually is very integral into the way that I had my passion for movement. So, as a kid, like we didn't have so much money, and unfortunately, I couldn't take martial arts classes until a particular event happened, and unfortunately, it was, I want to say, one of the hardest times of my life in general. So, and I was about, I want to say 14 or 15, no, 15, turning 16. Um, I lost my grandfather. And the thing is that my grandfather was the one who got me into my love of martial arts from like a young, early age. Like this man would keep me awake at night with a bag of candy watching Jackie Chan films till 4 o'clock in the morning. And my mother hated that because I was eating candy and awake all night, but it's
Yeah.
fine. It's cool. And so not more than 2 months after that is when I lost my baby brother, who was, he wanted to be like me. He wanted to do all the flips, and we were working on that. And we were, I was teaching him how to do certain things. And that's where I kind of just kind of spiraled. I spiraled down because, you know, those were the two biggest, like, male presences in my life at that point. And I didn't really have a good way to express that.
Hmm.
And so then my mom and my grandmother, they put together the money, just put me in the martial arts classes. And then I had a place to be. And the more that I kept doing it, the more I realized that this is the place that I was meant to be at, because it incorporates every ideal I've ever had about life, about, you know, who you can be as a person. Because we generally spend our lives looking for who we want to be. And even when we think we found who we want to be, we're still looking for who else we want to be. And with tricking, it gave me the opportunity not to continue to keep looking for who I want to be, but I found who I wanted to be, and I wanted to put more of who that was out to the world. And every time I've stepped onto the floor and every time I've gone to an event, I've been far, just so much more connected with everyone and in tune, because, you know, I see people's passion. I see people's love of the sport. I see people who might be shy for the first time and don't know what to do. And, I see the pros that have been doing this for years and years and years and years. And at that same point, none of that matters. It's movement, it's expression, it is who your soul truly is. And so, and over the years, I've gone through my own phases, I've gone through my own just kind of, you know, different phases in the sport, and so every time I've gone through a phase, I realize that I love the sport so much more because of the simple fact that no matter if you're young or old or tall or short or skinny or big or black, white, yellow, whatever. Some of us are probably aliens. I don't know at this point, probably. But once you're in that space, once you're on that floor, once you're there with those people who are there to do the same thing, you find the true essence of movement and you fall in love with it. And that dance happens every time you do something. And if you learn how to dance that dance, you'll find that you love the sport without even thinking about it. And that's where my passion comes from. I've been in this sport and I've had so many experiences through it that have not only changed my tricking and my understanding of tricking, but it has also given my life much more to understand and much more to grow with. The passion just stays because it's something that no matter what I do, there's always something for me to learn, to grow with, to give back to share. And so that's where my passion comes from. Because I mean, I honestly, I love moving. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when COVID hit, I was glad to take a break for like a week. And then I was like, shit, excuse my language, I can't be in a gym and I can't train right now because they wouldn't let you train outside. They wouldn't let you train in the parks. I so that was rough. Like
Yeah.
I was like freaking out. I was like, my mom's like, if you flip in the house and break something, I will hurt you. And so I was like, I was skittish, and I had to learn how to move differently. And that's what also made me appreciate tricking even more, is because I learned how to move without using tricking. I learned how to internally move without using tricking. And then when I went back to tricking, that internal movement made my tricking even more passionate, even more strong, even more connected to everything that we do. And so, every time I'm on the floor, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be with people who love the sport and who love what we do and who are willing to share all that they are and who they are, no matter what skill level you are, with the rest of the world or the rest of the community. And that's what makes me passionate about tricking as it is.
Dude, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, we've known each other for so long now, and we're homies and all that, but I never heard that story. So I appreciate it,
You
and I'm
know,
sure everyone else does too.
I always find of that story too. That's the funny thing. Is like I always find different ways to explain it, but it seems like, and I think the reason is because everybody takes it differently. That's the first time I've ever explained it in that nature.
Hmm.
And whenever I explain it to somebody, it always changes, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah,
So, it's always fun to find new ways to explain it and to have people understand it.
for sure. Another thing I really wanted to ask you about is what did you mean by internal tricking? Like, how did you trick without tricking? What did you mean by that?
Okay, so this is where it gets kind of spiritual in a sense.
That's okay.
So, um, you know, I've always been the kind of person where I have a very active imagination, and with the anime, the cartoons, everything, we all as trickers. And I actually said this, I think at last year's uh, Battle of Fury.
Hmm.
Trickers are the superheroes we wanted to be when we were kids, and the only difference is that we just wear the spandex because we want to, not because we're fighting bad guys. We just want to do it because it's fun. It's fun. But what happens when you can't do that on a physical level? Well, then you turn to your imagination, you turn to your internal. So I spent a lot of time using my martial arts training and then using my spiritual practice to internally trick. Every day I would, sit in meditation, and even if I wasn't thinking about tricking, there was some form of movement going on in my meditation practice. And I very much kind of relate it to the sense of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where you're using the elements in a martial arts way. And in that same sense, I use those same martial arts practices for tricking, but it didn't just stop with tricking. It went with, you know, walking, or it went with exercising, or it went with doing the dishes, or it went with, washing laundry. And internally, I used every ounce of movement thought that I could to internalize my energy. That way I could use that energy without having to physically use it. And the more that I kept training that, the more that my mind started to be like, okay, now this is how you want it to be. Let's put it to the test when you physically can. And when I actually got a chance to, of course, it took my body a little bit of time to, get back into the swing of it. But I started realizing that my tricking had become far more calm, far more connected because I was mentally training the movements. I was feeling them in my head. I was feeling the crashes. I was feeling the pain from like slamming onto a floor. But at the same time, I also felt the weightlessness that you can give yourself when you're in your meditation. I felt the almost superpower, superhuman ability to, jump high or twist faster or, land perfectly. Like I made myself feel and be aware of that. And so when I started to put it back into physical practice, that got increasingly better extremely quickly because my body already knew what it could do and how it could do it. And so even now, like, you know, even though I'm here in Italy, like there are very few gyms that are, within, driving distance. And so you kind of have to, make a trip to get to a gym. But while I'm here, I'm training outdoors or I'm doing meditation and I'm still seeing certain tricks and I'm infusing that into my meditation practice so that I can feel the rotation or the kick or the extension or like, the arch in my back or the hand placement or anything so that by the time I get into the gym, my body's not so much afraid of it. It just will start to like, okay, let's do this first, then we'll add this in, then we add the last part, and then it just goes.
Right.
And it takes literally like where it would take me like maybe 15 to 20 minutes to do like 2 or 3 things. I can do like 5 or 6 or 7, maybe even 10 if I have a good day in the span of 5 minutes. And I can maintain that for the most part, unless I'm doing like massive power stuff. I can actually maintain that for a good majority of the session. So it's made it so much easier for my body to be comfortable and to be connected to the movement because I've connected myself to the movement internally, and then my body's just bringing it to life.
Yeah, it's funny because it sounds so spiritual and all that, but there's so much science behind that as well. Obviously the way we think about things matters, and however you think of it has definitely served you.
Absolutely.
But to me, it sounds a lot like mindfulness meditation and mental rehearsal. So mindfulness
Absolutely.
meditation, it's just like being very present in the moment. And for you, you even use, like you said, like dishwashing and stuff as like a way to be very connected to your body and to how you're moving. And studies have shown that that has a very big role in being able to focus and in being able to move, especially with the visualization, with the mental rehearsal of like practicing and drilling and stuff. So it's really cool to see that you've taken it to that level because, I mean, I've studied it, I've done it myself, we've all done it to an extent, but I think you've done it like maybe the most out of anyone I've ever talked to. Like you've actually made mental sessions every day. And I mean, that's cool to hear that it's really like helped you to that extent. Like that's crazy. That's, yeah.
Yeah, like it's been a very intense but eye-opening experience to use that, and I'm actually still using it. And I still use it now, even though like you know I don't necessarily I don't want to say I don't necessarily have to, but I feel I'm on a good path at the current moment. But even so, like there are days when like I'll wake up and I'm like I'll think about a trick, and then as soon as I start going to the gym, my brain will be like, I don't know if we can pull this off, and then I have to take it back in and be like, no, we can do it. That's fine. And then it just starts to happen and it starts to work.
I've seen you
Um,
do that
but
in person. It's funny. You'll be like, you'll shake your
yeah,
head no, like walk one way for like a few steps, and then you'll be like, yeah, and then you'll go back, and then yep, it's a double Arabian or something like that.
yep, yep. And it's just so much funnier because the amount of double Arabians I think I've thrown in the last like 2 3 months is still so funny because I don't like now I don't throw double Arabians as much anymore. But I threw one at MTG, I threw one at Battle of Fury, and I threw one actually in between that while I was at home. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have to work on this. We're gonna have to work on this. But it's gotten to a point now where I'm like, even though I may have to like take a little bit to kind of charge it up, my body instinctively knows what to do. Now, every so like I said, the last like 2 out of 3 times I've busted my butt on it, but at that same point, it's fine because I've thrown it. I've known that's just my confirmation that I've thrown it. Like me landing it is going to be hit or miss. Like it's just going to happen. I've already accepted that. But the fact that I can still throw it, the fact that I'm not afraid to throw it, the fact that even when I don't land, it still rings of like beauty. I'm still happy with that. So I don't, it's fine.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I want to switch topics a little bit to, I think everyone knows, you even said it in the beginning, but what is your spirit animal and why? I've never asked anyone this, but you definitely have a spirit animal, so tell everyone about this thing and what it is.
So you know what, and this will be this will actually, I think this will be the first time that I've said this on camera. So I have a main spirit animal, which we all know is the majestic wolf.
Yes.
But there are other spirit animals that I do have, and you know, I do tend to I bring them out every so often, depending on what I'm doing. But I have not really spoken too much on it. Um, but just for the sake of our conversation, my main spirit animal is the wolf. The reason being is because I've always been very big into nature. I've also been very big into mythology of different cultures and mythology, just of like Native American mythology, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, um, Chinese, Japanese, whatever mythology I could find myself and I could read into. And the one biggest thing that always stuck out to me, especially when it came to the Native American mythology, was that the wolf has such a complicated history. It's so complicated because wolves are beautiful protectors of nature. They're protectors of the forest. They are known to be guiding spirits. They are known to be shadows that fly across the roots and the ground, but they're also known to be ferocious shadows that will haunt you in your sleep. They are known to be the bringers of doom, the bringers of chaos, and the funny part about it is that both sides are right. And the thing is I think that one of the main reasons why I love wolves is because wolves are sweet, loving creatures, but if you mess with them, they will tear you to pieces. And not only that, but wolves just want to be left alone and they want to live in peace. They won't attack humans unless they're given a reason to. They won't attack anything unless it's for a necessary purpose. They are pack animals. They live in packs. They care for their families. They care for their young. They care for the old. And I've always felt like that. And even when, life kicked me down, I kept moving. I kept pushing. Even when people thought I was evil or, a bad person or whatever, whatever. I still kept going. And when people have seen just how, happy I can be or how much of a nice person I can be, or I try to be, and, how I like to move around and just be in my own element, people see that too. And so wolves have always spoken out to me. They've always been like that. Like I can honestly say, I've met at least a half wolf before, and it's funny because I met that wolf in Philadelphia during Vertigo one year, and we were on the steps, and this big black dog, and I want to say it was like a wolf husky mix,
Hmm.
and I just looked at it, and it was just beautiful, and all of a sudden I felt this need to just walk up and talk to this lady and the lady and the guy who had the dog, and I was like, "Can I pet your dog?" They're like, "Yeah, just be careful. He might, he can be a little, just hesitant on whoever touches him." And when I looked at the dog and I stuck my hand out, he immediately just stuck his face in my hand. And I sat there with this wolf hybrid for at least a good solid 10 minutes, just sitting on the steps next to him, petting him, talking to him. And even his owners were like, the hell is this? And I'm like, I didn't tell him anything, but I was like, mm.
I'm Kid Wolf.
And I mean, but you know what? But no, like that's the reason why I love them because they're so complicated yet so beautiful, and they live a life that is full of mystery, full of legend, full of light and dark. It's the duality of life, and it's just always stuck to me. And so like it's just
For
been
sure.
with me for many years. And like I said, I have other spirit animals, and I use them as well every so often. When I'm doing certain things, or like when I explain things to people. But my wolf is always kind of, he's front and center. He's front and center.
All right. I have another question to follow up off that because you said you use them, and that's kind of what I want to get to. How do you use them? What do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean by using the
So
wolf?
okay, so this is where my spiritual practice comes into play. So I practice very much so in the spiritual way. I use spirit guides for, not just meditation work, but also in the sense of working through life and, working through my own traumas and working through everything. And as of currently, I have my wolf, I have a lion, I have a dragon, I have a fox, and I have a phoenix. And all of those animals represent not only different elements, and I mean like the actual elements, but they represent different parts of life. The wolf, I say, is spirit. It is the conscious connection to spirit. Dragon is fire. Um, Now, with the dragon, there's a fire that we all know that what dragons are infamous for. They're fire breathing. They're powerful. They are a force that should not be messed with. But if you get to know a dragon, you understand just exponential energy. I use that in tricking as well, and I use that as well in life. Like I use that energy to be in my own power, to understand how that energy around me feels, and how to use that energy in the best and most positive way possible. With my lions are the kings of the jungle. They are the king of the pride land. They are the top land predator, but they are also a symbol of not just royalty, but strength, but power and understanding and elegance and being able to withstand that which comes at you. Because we all know lions don't back down for shit, excuse my
Yeah,
language, but they don't. And
I'm a Leo.
that is
I
also
agree.
a part of, listen, it's a factual statement, you know what I mean? But funny thing about it is that, like, with lions, when they roar, you listen. When they stand in front of you acknowledge that. And I use that, and honestly, I use that in a certain sense in my battling. And that is, and lions are earth. They are the earth. They stand on that ground. And, you know, I use that in the face of things that are going, haphazard in life, whether it be in my own personal life or whether it be in the actual world. I stand to make sure that I can face what I need to face without buckling too much under the stress, without having to always fear. I want to be able to do that. My fox. Now, the funny part about the fox is that I actually found that fox in Japan,
Hmm.
and the fox is such a fun animal because they're known to be tricksters. They're known to be very slick, very cunning, but also very beautiful. They have a very wild mythology on, just beauty and stunningness when you see them. but they also represent water. They represent a flow that you have, because foxes move in such an effortless and beautiful way that if you're not aware, you won't see them.
Mm.
You won't ever see them because they move so quick and because they're good at being undetectable when they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a flow that we all can also have. We can also be able to flow that easy in life. We are able to flow that easy if we allow ourselves to do so, if we know how to, as well as, water being just life giving. It is something that, we carry, and that's our bodies are made up almost primarily of water. So when you learn how to flow with the water, not only outside of you, but the water inside of you, exactly, you learn how to balance both, both, both sides of that. And the last is probably the most used, the most talked about, the most, you know, majestic one, which is the phoenix. And the phoenix is the symbol of rebirth. It is the symbol of rising from that which has burned you or destroyed you. And that is also like the wind. The wind is something that cannot be destroyed, and it constantly is moving. It's rebirthing itself. When the wind dies out, it'll rebirth itself somewhere else,
Mm.
just like the phoenix. And just like who we are as people, we are not meant to stay the same person. We are meant to grow and become new people. We shed one layer, we go into another. When that layer has served its purpose, we go into another. And just like the phoenix, we shed those layers. We keep rebirthing ourselves, and we find new things about ourselves, new areas to work with, new new traumas to heal, or new boundaries to cross and push into the unknown. And so in all of those things, like I use those five animals because they are what represent parts of myself, but not only parts of myself, but life.
Mm-hmm.
And I use every single one, whether it's in tricking or in life in itself. I've used the imagery and the visualization and the connection in tricking. And honestly, I feel like that's how I've gotten a lot of my, some of the hardest tricks I've ever done is because I've used one of those specific animals at some point in time.
And I mean, that's so cool. For so many reasons. I love the Phoenix. Out of all the ones you said, I love them all, honestly. But the Phoenix speaks to resilience. It speaks to, that I like. It's not as cool, right? But you think of it as an onion, right? If you're an onion, you have all the layers and stuff, and a lot of people get stuck on a layer. And they don't allow themselves to get the lesson out of whatever layer that they're at to get to the next layer. So I really like
Exactly.
that analogy. It's
Exactly.
it's amazing, honestly. And I read a book, or actually I listened to the audiobook, Alter Ego. Have you heard of it?
hmm I haven't listened or read the book yet, but I have heard of it.
I would be super interested for you to read or listen to that, and anyone listening to this, definitely check that out because, again, everything you're saying, like super spiritual, but there's truth to it, obviously, and I don't need to tell you that, but for my science nerd listeners, there's a lot of science behind that. The I think
No,
the
I
author
absolutely
was
understand
called
that.
Todd Herman, I believe. And he talks about the
Okay.
science of creating an alter ego and the power of that and allowing yourself to enter a new mental space by being this person or this entity or this being. And then now you have access to its abilities, And that's just a mental place we can go into
Exactly.
that can allow us to do those things that we might not see ourselves being able to do. But of course, a lion could do it. Of course, a phoenix could do it, and that's just a really cool way
Exactly.
to
Exactly.
become the person you want to be, which is sick. Like, I love it. I love it. Let's see. I wanted to talk, and I think you kind of explained this a little bit with the spirit animals and stuff, but you're obviously very creative in your tricks, and you keep creating, and you keep innovating. Even now, it's been many years, and you're still doing new stuff that people are like, "Whoa, what is that?" You know. And I think that's why we've vibed a lot together because we like a lot of the weird stuff. And so,
Yeah,
how do you
the weird
keep
stuff
that?
is the best. It's the best.
How do you keep that inspiration for creativity? How do you keep creating? Is it the mental aspect of it? Do you kind of go into your mind and see yourselves doing things that you didn't expect, or like how is that creative process for you?
So I so one of the biggest things, and let me get this light better because I'm losing a little bit of light.
Yeah, it's
But
getting
let me
later in Italy.
so one of a so one of the big things is that I constantly am looking into different things. I'm constantly looking into different areas of movement or of art or photography or whatever. Because the thing is that it's not just movement that inspires movement. If you know how to look at certain things, that can inspire movement. You could be looking at a now, for example, you'd be looking at a pigeon taking a poop on the sidewalk. And for some odd reason, you don't know why, it inspires you to create a masterpiece. It inspires you to create something that is literally, you don't know where it came from. You don't understand it, but it came because you happen to be looking at that. And that's what I like to do. I like to watch different things, listen to different things. Um, it's funny because I actually really enjoyed watching car footage. So like, the midnight club kind of car footage where they would roll out with cameras on the highways,
Mm,
just riding high, getting those dope shots. And it would make you would think it would make you want to do car stuff or car photography or whatever. It gave me tricking ideas. It
interesting.
it literally inspired me to think of lines that I wanted to do, and I don't know why, but it did. So I started doing them. And honestly, the reason why I still love creating and the reason I still keep doing it is because it sounds really, I guess, kind of funny, but it's because people keep telling me that I'm too old to keep doing it.
Mm,
That is one of the biggest reasons as to why I keep doing it because everybody, and I'll say this because I've said this a lot to different people, but I don't think people understand the reason why most athletes stop competing or stop doing stuff by the time they're like 30 or 31, 32. It's not so much because they want to quit, or it's not so much that they're too old, or none of that. It's because people tell them that, oh, well, you're getting old, you can't do this forever, like you gotta settle down, do this. Why 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 do I need to stop doing something I love because you tell me I'm getting too old? And the problem with that is that people listen to it and then they stop, and then they 20 years down the line, they're like, oh, I wish I kept going. And that's where the problem is. I've literally been told, like, at times, like, I'm getting old. You're getting old. You can't do it forever. I'm like, I've seen a 60-year-old man do bars in a park. If he can do that, then I can throw a triple four when I'm 60. And guess what? We're running for it. And there is no reason for me to stop unless, like, my body physically can't. And even then, I'm going to find a way to keep doing tricking in some way, shape, or form. But there is no reason why you should be letting somebody else tell you to stop because you're getting too old, or it's not grown up enough, or you're not doing this, that, and the third. Dude, that's it doesn't make sense.
I
So I
couldn't
keep
agree
going
more.
because I keep going because I love doing it. Like, hell, we have 36, 36-year-old, 40-year-old trickers in the community still banging them out. So why can't we? Why can't we keep going? Why can't I keep going? And to be honest, I will keep going. I will keep going. And I told everybody this, and for anybody listening, you're about to get a good laugh. I've told people one of two things is going to happen: that when my body finally says, I've had enough of tricking, I can stop, I'm either going to get a wheelchair with a V12 engine, a shot of nitrous, and start a car chase down a highway somewhere, or I'm going to go into the woods with my husky, my horse, my wife, my cellar full of honey buns and whiskey, and call it a day. That's it. That is it. That's all. And I think people joke around and they laugh about it, and I'm like, it's funny, but I'm also dead serious. Like until my body tells me it's time, there is no point to me stopping because I'm just going to keep doing it and keep going. You
Yeah.
know, and one of the big things is that oh well, what about getting injured? Man, I can get injured walking down the sidewalk and tripping a crack in the concrete. Like
I've seen it
I can
happen
get injured no
literally
matter what
after a
I do.
session. I saw somebody roll their ankle off a curb right after a tricking session, and they were fine during the session,
Oh,
and they broke their ankle.
I've seen it happen so many times. I've seen that happen so many times.
Uh, Dude, yeah, I
Like
mean, I
it's
love that because it's like, and of course that's coming from you, right? Because you work so much on your internal environment that you have a strong enough internal environment to defend against the external that's trying to tell you what to do with your life. Why don't you let that decide? Why don't you let your life, why don't you let your internal, why don't you let your own self decide that instead of letting random people who don't know your circumstances decide that? I like, it's
exactly,
like the essence of
exactly.
what I want to give to the world literally is like, yes, physical therapy, but it's really the autonomy to do what they want to do in life. Like that's my passion, to help people, to give people that gift, and I think this talk is doing that. So thank you for that. This is awesome.
I'm glad I could. I'm glad I could.
Switching topics again a little bit, but more along the lines of, strength and conditioning and things like that. Like what role does, well, let's start with what injuries maybe that you've dealt with. Um, can I start with that? Like, you could just talk about the major ones. I'm sure there's a lot. But if, we could start with that. That way we can see what you've overcome and like what role strength and conditioning has right now in your training.
Okay, so this is about to be a fun one. Um, I think probably some of the major ones, and for those of you listening, bear with me. Don't do what I. I don't know if you want to do what I did, but just bear with me. I have three healed fractures at the base of my neck from doing a triple full way too high, and unfortunately swinging under and slamming my neck on the edge of the spring floor in the concrete. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, that one was fun. That
Jeez.
one, I woke up. I literally got up because I've crashed on my head a few times, so I'm like I know how it feels. And I'm like I feel fine until my lights went out, and I woke up in the hospital, and you know they were like, yeah, you have three like slight fractures in your neck, and I was like, oh, okay. They're like, hey, you probably shouldn't tumble for a month or two. I was like, right, right. Now, I'm not going to say that I didn't listen, but anybody who knows me well enough will just move on. So, one of the other big ones was I'm actually fairly certain I might have slightly fractured my ankle trying to do an Arabian double front on martial arts mat.
Mm.
That one was fun, and I actually ended up. The funny part with that story is that I was doing a bit of stunt work, and I got gassed up a little bit too much, and I decided to not throw the double front with a trampoline.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, uh, I got blinded by a spotlight, just hitting my face, and I dropped out too early, and all my weight dropped on my ankle. And I tried to continue, but I couldn't. So the week I was actually in LA, and then that same week I was supposed to be at a cheer competition because I had to compete, and I had to call up my coach and be like, so you remember how you told me not to do anything stupid? And she's like, yes. And I was like, well, I kind of did something stupid. And if you've ever had a coach or done a or a school sport or even a parent, when you tell them that you did something stupid and they give you that silence, that either means your life is about to end or it's about to get far worse. I got that silence. And the only words I heard was, you do know you're still competing, right? And I was like, well, duh. So again, for the folks listening, don't do what I did or try not to. I came home, went to the competition. I had them literally duct tape my ankle. I took two ibuprofen, drank a can of Red Bull, and I was throwing all eight of my passes. And then by the time we were done and we had won, my coach was like, okay, go home and rest. I was like, okay, cool. 3 days later, I was back in the gym because I couldn't sit still.
No.
I, I don't know. I don't know. But those are probably I want to say those are probably like the two biggest. But I
Mhm.
mean, I've suffered from, some pulled muscles. I think I popped a muscle in my foot at one point in time. Um, you know, you get crunchy wrists, crunchy knees from training on concrete for many years.
Yeah, you really
Um,
have trained on concrete more than I think anyone I can think of. Um,
I
yeah.
mean, I honestly, I think I think I said, like, I've been training on concrete because that was all we had. That was
Yeah.
all I had for the longest time. And then, you know, training on concrete also provided me the opportunity to understand tricking in a very raw form because if you screw up on a spring floor, yes, you can get hurt, but your chance of getting hurt are probably far less than if you're on a concrete street trying to throw, a cork dub or, snappy swipe or dub full or triple full or, box cutter. It,
Yeah.
it, the level to which you get hurt is far less on the spring floor, but it still happens. When you train on the concrete, you understand your body to literally the most fraction I can think of that I suck at math that I can't actually say right now. But you understand your body to that depth and you understand how your body reacts, how your body behaves, how your body moves, if something is slowing you down, what toe is in what spot, what hand is in the air. You understand it so, so well that when you take it to the spring floor, you do have to adjust for the power that you get on the spring floor, but your body then starts to find rhythm because it knows the movement well and you know how to handle them. Then it's just adding in the spring floor. And then once you do that, you're fine.
I would definitely imagine that the fear of death would make you pretty present and aware of what you're doing. For sure.
Yep.
So, two things
Yep.
with those stories is like, A, did you learn from that kind of training? Or do you feel that you still push to that extent? Like, yeah, what are lessons learned from that, if any? Or do you
So
continue to do
so
that?
I've learned, you know, it took me many, many, many years. I'm not gonna lie. It took me many years to really understand, that I can train like that, but it will come with repercussions and very harsh ones at that. So what I've learned to do is I've learned to sit with my body and whenever I'm doing a trick or whenever I decide to go outside and do or train outside, I ask my body, okay, what do we feel like doing today? Normally my body will tell me. And if it doesn't, then I just go through whatever I can to see what feels good. And there are some days where my body doesn't want to do certain things and I may train something else or when for days that it's not necessarily my body, but it's my mind. And I have to work through that. You know, I have learned that, recovery training, exercises and stretching outside of that do help to keep that injury down. I mean, you can never, I can say that you will get injured at some point in time, and it's going to happen, whether it's a small injury or it's a large injury. It's going to happen. So the best thing you can do is have your body be as prepared as it can be. My training was the fact that I trained on concrete and I also trained on grass and everything else because that was all I had. And so my body understands force. It understands my the way that I use force. That's honestly, I feel like that's the reason why I can land in such weird, awkward ways. Whereas most people, if they had landed that, probably would have destroyed a ligament on the spot.
Yeah.
And I also think that's why trickers as themselves, that's why they are able to do that, is because they've spent so much time doing it that their bodies now have a very fundamental understanding of inverted force, you know, dropping ratio, and a bunch of other things. And so that's why, like, even when we get hurt, it's generally a massive one because it's using much more power than our body can handle at that point in time. But in reality, like, we're still doing things that, from a scientific and physical standpoint, shouldn't really be possible. I mean, inverted force swinging into like a cork swinging into a triple. That's an inverted flip off of 1 foot, which by the law of physics, you should not be able to generate as 2 times more power. You should only be able to generate the amount of force that you're putting into it. But the minute that cork hits, that power doubles from the block to the way your toes grip the floor to the way your body literally tightens up like an anime character about to throw a key blast into the universe. And the power comes doubled. And trickers have learned how to do that. Trickers have learned how to do that from the most ridiculous setups.
Yeah,
that shouldn't
definitely
be possible.
Yeah, I have a theory that we can definitely, if we can combine the technique and the awareness and all that of tricking with the power of gymnastics, we could probably get like a lot of twists on ground, like 6 or so.
Oh,
Because like
yeah.
you're doing
Oh,
quad cork from head height off 1 foot. It's like that's not that high,
dude,
and it's off one
it's
foot.
not.
So if we do a
Exactly.
round off back handspring the right way, we could probably do like 6 twists or something. It's
Oh,
pretty
I
crazy.
absolutely agree.
Pretty
Like I
crazy.
said, the biggest, honestly, I'll say this, the biggest example of that is Shosei.
Yeah.
Shosei, Zen, and in a certain sense, Ethan too.
Oh
Because
yeah.
look at Shosei. Shosei, when I first met Shosei like 6 years ago, he was kind of barely hitting like dubs. He was good.
Yeah.
It's almost like he disappeared for almost what, a year and a half. He came back and literally destroyed every tricking record we had before he was 15,
Yeah.
15, 16. For a child to literally do that in the span of almost a year and a half, that is the fastest rate of progression I've ever seen a child pull, with the exception of maybe like Aiden Kennedy or Chase Kubia. Like, he literally, I don't know what the hell happened. I've still been meaning to ask Tai Chi that, like, but the fact is he went from barely being able to dub to throwing quad cork in under a year, and then almost a year later throwing the second ever quint full on floor. I think no, I don't. Well, I don't know if he landed on the floor. I think he might have. He might have. I might be wrong about that, but
I think it was
still.
another surface, but still.
Well, yeah, I think so.
I think so.
But still, like,
I think like 4.5.
I mean,
I don't know. We'll pull it up.
yeah,
We'll fact
yeah.
check that one.
But I mean,
He's an animal.
the fact is, this man quad pulls on concrete. He literally quad pulls on concrete and grass like it's a double. He's done dub. You know, I still remember one of the craziest things I ever saw this kid do for me is TDR punch double snafu double. That is a quad variation with a double rotation stall, then a double rotation back in. That is now listen. We've seen crazy stuff in the tricking community. That's great, but I want people to understand, like, that in itself is Olympic level understanding of the body, and this is a 14-year-old kid. I don't think I've ever seen a 14-year-old kid do anything of that nature. Never. And then, same thing. We literally went from like doing some, kind of low level stuff or like mid level stuff. This man is now he's throwing shuriken combos back to back. He has thrown, I think he did, what is it, double full in, double full out. He's done cork in, or do you do full in, back out swing?
Yeah, he did
Like,
that. He did the double leg is what gets me because I've been wanting to
exactly.
try and do that for a while. The cork double leg. That's
Okay,
been in my
between,
head for
you
years. I'm
know,
like, this guy did
I've
it.
been trying that. I've been trying that trick for so long, and the funny part about it is like between then, well, you know what's funny is Johannes and Taylor did it for
Hmm.
cart delay, and
Yeah.
that's what I was like, holy crap, that's wild. And then did it, and then Chelsea did it, and I'm like, how did all three of them do that in the span of what, a couple of months apart? And I'm like, I don't like y'all no more. Y'all go ahead with that. I don't want to get down to that. But I love the living life with them because they did it. Like that's
Oh,
like the
for
greatest thing
sure.
to me.
For sure.
So
But yeah, so back to the role of like what do you do to take care of your body nowadays? Like, do you do strengthening stuff? Do you do conditioning work? Do you do mobility work? Like, what are you doing to keep
um
going right now?
so currently I am doing a bit of conditioning when I get a chance to. I like to balance out everything. Exercises, when I'm at work or when I'm at home, even if it's just some push ups or sit ups or dips or, whatever I can find. Sometimes, and I like to change up different things and kind of incorporate different things into what I'm doing. Definitely stretching when I'm at home, and then like before I go to bed, I do my best to make sure I stretch before I go to bed, even if it's just like, small stretches, 30 seconds a piece, as much as I can. When I'm training at the gym, I'm running around, warming up my body, stretching up my legs, opening up my hips. And then even after I'm done sessioning, I might do, a few exercises. I might do some medicine ball throws. I might do some lunges with the weight.
Mm-hmm.
I might do uh, like shoulder dips where your hands up and your body's, your legs are out, and you dip down. I'll do different things and I'll just incorporate pieces of them in throughout the week or every 2 weeks as my body feels the need for it because I like to listen to my body almost entirely. When my body says, okay, let's do this, that's when we do it. When it says, oh, let's not do this today because we have enough power, if we overdo that, it's not going to end well. I listen and I say, okay, I'll do, maybe some push ups, some light stretching, some, after training session, stretching, and then wait till the next time because I've realized that when I don't listen and I just go ahead and do stuff just because people say you should or it's a good idea, my body will literally kick me in the ass later on. It will literally do that. And I've learned to listen to my body appropriately. And when it says, okay, let's condition, let's exercise, let's do this, perfectly fine, let's do it. Even if I don't want to do it, we'll do it because my body wants it, it needs it. When it just wants tricking and maybe some kicking regimen, some or maybe a little bit of style or whatever. So I listen because it knows what it can handle, it knows what it can integrate, and it knows what it can take. So the more I can do that, the easier it becomes for me to keep my body physically moving. Like I still have sore days, I still have some tight spots here and there, but overall my body is far better than what it you know than what it could be. It's
Yeah,
far better. Honestly, I feel like I'm more in my prime now than I have been even in my younger days.
that's awesome.
So,
Aging like fine wine, man.
eh,
So
hey,
I think it's a
wine and honey buns, wine and honey buns.
honey buns. No, not honey buns.
Wine and honey buns.
Yeah, I guess they do age pretty well. I see what you're saying, but probably shouldn't eat too many of those. But I know this
We're
too.
not
I've
going to
seen
talk
you
about
at too many gatherings, man. So I think the moral of what we've been talking about, though, is like listening to your internal environment. And I think, some people are more natural at that than others.
Yeah.
I am not as natural at that, I don't think, but I've forced myself over the years to become more in tune with those things. Like I think I focus more on,
Mhm.
the external world a lot of times. And I think that could be the
Right.
case for a lot of people who listen. So, do you have any tips for people that don't feel maybe as connected, or just tips for anyone in general that can give them that ability to really hone in, listen to their body, feel what's going on in real time during tricks, like all the things that you've kind of shared with us today? Like, are there any actionable tips that people
So,
can start with day to day?
absolutely. Absolutely. So, I'm going to say this, and and I say this because this is something that I've recognized over the years. Be prepared to look like an idiot. And everybody said, and people say this, but nobody really listens. Be prepared to look like an idiot, because when you learn that, you learn to be comfortable. You learn to be okay with failing. You learn to be okay with looking crazy. Like, tricking in itself is a bunch of crazy people in a gym for 3 days, sweating through every orifice possible and throwing the most insane things, not for not just because they want to win an award or accomplishment, but because they want to live through their movement. They want to express to their movement, and they're not afraid to look crazy. Like, we literally, we've literally worn speedos and one-piece bathing suits and tutus and superhero suits and furry costumes and everything else under the sun just because we could, and we're still tricking in it. Like, we don't care. And and this is just for tricking, but this also goes into other sports. Like, if there's something that you want to do and you feel like you might not want to do it because you don't want to look stupid, be prepared to look stupid. Because when you look stupid, you allow yourself to find the things that will make you look good later. We all start like that. We all start looking kind of crazy. And when you can look crazy and then continue on, it shows that you have the heart for what you want to do. Like, I can say this: listen to your body, but not only that, but sit with yourself. Take your time throughout the day, even if it's literally 2 minutes. Ask yourself, okay, what is it that I like to do with my movement or with my art or with what I'm doing in life or with what I'm doing with my job or anything? Ask yourself those questions. Talk to yourself. Create your internal place where you can go and you can work through these things, because the moment that you do, the moment that you understand these things and you start applying those things that you found and those answers, and you know, even if you're still searching, the more you're going to get out of what it is that you're doing, the more you're going to understand what it is that you're doing, and the more that you're going to find peace of mind or find the answers that you seek with what you're doing, whether it be tricking, mountain biking, being an accountant, running the world, I don't know, trying to find dinosaurs in a long lost time in a long lost place, I don't know. But if you love doing it and you want to put yourself into it, don't be afraid to do so. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Don't be afraid to just step out there.
Love it, man. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, so that was all the questions I had. I don't know if you have any for me, but other than that, I mean, we went through everything I had, so I'm very happy about that. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this. I think that the moral of the story is to, look within and to, see what we're capable of that way, as well as the other stuff too.
Exactly. Also, eat some honey buns. It's fine. They'll give you some nice comfort. Okay. You'll thank me later. You'll thank me
It'll
later.
it'll help with the internal environment.
Oh yeah,
Definitely not mine, but
I mean, I'm just saying, even if you internally put it in, it's fine. It's okay.
all right. So where can people find you? Like if they want to see more of your content, if they want to connect with you, where's the best places to find you?
Okay, so the two best places to find me are my Instagram, which is Will underscore Kid Wolf underscore Coneys, and then my YouTube channel, which is The Kid Wolf. Those are the two best places to find my content. I'm actually working on uploading a lot more content currently, and that's where you'll find me doing a bunch of crazy things that you probably shouldn't do, but are still fun to do. So hey,
That's what
fun.
we do, man. Before we close out, can you give us a sneak peek as to what you're thinking about putting out or like what's going on?
So I will say that I am currently working on one, pushing my movement a bit more in the way of like a bit more of the harder moves, but then two, um, I'm trying to bring back some old classics and give them a new little twist and really show people that you know there's a lot of different ways to move and there's a lot of different things that people have forgotten are out there. And I honestly am working towards bringing those back. And all I'll say is that it's going to be a fun time. That's the most I can say. I'm going to try to bring out the best content that I can. Um, you know, and I'm really hoping that people will enjoy it and take from it what they will, and that's what makes me happy.
Awesome, man. I can't wait to see it. I'm gonna be watching the Scrolls, 99 Scrolls Rebirth. I
Ninety
mean,
the
I just
99
named it,
schools
but
are. Hey, hey, listen, hey, listen. I could use that. That's a
it's
nice
not a bad
name. That's a nice
name.
name.
It's not a bad name.
It's not a bad name.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, and until next time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I truly do.